You know, some stories are just spooky. They're designed to give you chills. But every once in a while, you stumble upon a story that's different. It's got something more going on. That's exactly what we're looking at today. We're going to dive into this tale about a whispering mansion, but trust me, this is way more than just a simple ghost story. It's about greed and a whole lot of grief. Because, see, behind every ghost, there's a story, right? What might look like just a spooky haunting is almost always tangled up in some really powerful human emotions. We're talking pain, loss, even love. And this particular story, well, it doesn't even kick off with a ghost. It starts with something much more alluring: treasure, the promise of a hidden fortune. And, as you're about to find out, that promise, it's enough to wake up a darkness that's been sleeping for a very, very long time. All right, so let's set the scene. We're in this beautiful, almost perfect little village called Poonpur. It's a peaceful, simple kind of place, with one big exception. On the edge of the village stands this huge old mansion. They call it a haveli, and it's the one place nobody dares to go. Yeah, the locals are terrified of this place. They whisper stories about this strange, scary figure they've seen inside. A frail old woman, they say, with wild white hair and these intense, piercing eyes. Is she a ghost? Something else? They have no idea. All they know for sure is you stay away, period. So you've got this fragile peace, right? The villagers avoid the haveli and life goes on. Well, that all gets blown to pieces with the arrival of four newcomers. You've got Rajiv, his wife Ria, and his two brothers, Raman and Prem. And they haven't come to Poonpur for the scenery. Nope, they've got a very specific goal in mind. And right away, it's a total culture clash. The villagers see this mansion and feel fear. These newcomers, they look at the exact same building and see dollar signs. They just laugh off all the ghost stories as, silly local legends. They boldly announce that the Haveli was their grandfather's and they're here to sell it for a fortune. So do they listen to the villagers? Of course not. They completely ignore all the warnings and just march right into the mansion. And inside? Wow, it's huge but super creepy. Bats just explode from the ceiling. There are these weird whispers coming from nowhere. And then they see her. Tucked away in a dark corner, it's the old woman. She's exactly like the villagers said. And as they get closer, she gets up and says something that changes, well, everything. Just one sentence, and boom, the whole plan to sell the mansion, gone, just like that. It's replaced by this new all-consuming idea. Greed completely takes over. Forget about the property value. Now it's all about that hidden treasure. So the very next day, they're back. And get this, they're not alone. They've managed to bring over 100 villagers with them. How? By promising everyone a cut of the treasure. It's amazing, isn't it? The fear that ruled this village for years, it just vanished, completely replaced by this wave of collective greed. And just like that, the hunt is on. I mean, it's chaos. A whole crowd of people are just tearing this mansion apart. They're searching every room, knocking on walls, digging up the garden, just frantically looking for this treasure. But hours go by and nothing. Zilch. And you can just feel the hope starting to drain out of the crowd. But just when they're about to give up, someone spots something. Under a bunch of rubble from a part of the roof that fell in, there's a stone slab. They pull away all the debris, heave the slab up, and what do they find? A staircase leading down into a dark, secret basement. The excitement just erupts. This has to be it, right? This is where the treasure is. So they head down into this dusty, cobweb-filled cellar, and there it is, a huge, heavy, old iron chest. It takes a massive effort, but they manage to drag it all the way back upstairs. And when the old woman sees it, she starts dancing and crying, "My treasure! My treasure!" So, the big question, what was in the chest? Okay, so they break the lock, the whole crowd is leaning in, nobody's breathing, they're just waiting. The lid creaks open, and it's not gold. No jewels either, no ancient artifacts, just this wave of confusion, and then real disappointment starts to ripple through the room. Because what they see inside, lying on the bottom of the chest,
are the bones of a child, the complete skeleton of a tiny baby. And just like that, the treasure hunt is over. The room goes dead silent, and that silence is filled with this creeping, awful horror. Yeah, this story just took a really, really dark turn. So while everyone is just recoiling in shock, the old woman, and we finally learn her name is Gauri, she just collapses over the chest, sobbing. And right there, through her tears, she finally tells them what really happened, the true story of this mansion.
Okay, so here's what happened. Years and years ago, Gauri lived in this house with her husband and her father-in-law. She gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, but they wanted a son, an heir, and they were furious. So her husband, acting on the horrific advice of some so-called mystic, took his own daughter, their own daughter, down to that basement and sacrificed her. When Gauri found out what he'd done, something inside her just broke. In this fit of pure, grief-fueled rage, she grabbed a knife and killed him, her father-in-law, and the servants who let it happen. Her mind was just gone. She took her daughter's remains, placed them in that chest, and that became her treasure, the only thing she's been guarding all these years. So, you see, for Gauri, those bones weren't something to be afraid of. They were all she had left of her daughter, the child she loved, the child who was stolen from her. That was her treasure. That's what she was protecting. But the story doesn't just stop there, in the past. Oh no. Uncovering this awful truth, it makes everything happening in the present just explode. So Rajiv, furious that there's no gold, actually kicks the chest. He calls the bones rotting memories. And Gauri just flies into a rage, trying to protect her child. So what does Rajiv do? He calls the police to get this crazy old woman arrested. But this is where it all backfires. The police show up, and they ask one simple, crucial question. Can you prove this house is yours? And suddenly, they've got nothing. No papers, no documents. The whole story about their grandfather, it was a total lie. Just a scam to illegally grab the property. And just like that, the tables are turned. The four of them, Rajiv, Ria, and the brothers, they're the ones who get arrested. The villagers, who now understand this horrible tragedy, they all come together. They give the baby a proper burial, finally letting her rest in peace. Gauri is taken to a mental health facility to finally get the help she's needed for so long. And then, in this incredible final act, the villagers decide to do something with the Haveli itself. Think about it. This building started as a place of fear for the whole village. Then, for a short time, it became a symbol of greed. But now, it's going to become a place of hope. It's an absolutely incredible transformation, and it's all because the community decided to respond to this awful truth with compassion. And that really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How does a community even begin to heal from a tragedy that's been buried for so long? This story, it was never really about a haunted house, was it? It's about what happens when you drag a dark secret out into the light, and how that can lead to healing and even create something truly good out of so much pain. And in the end, they put a plaque on the front of the new building. It says Gauri Kanya Vidyalaya, which is Gauri Girls' School. And underneath, the dedication simply reads, "In memory of a mother." It's just the most perfect, fitting tribute. A story that began with one daughter being lost now provides a future for generations of daughters. Just incredible.